most of that was precipitated by the desire to get the building for the view corridor as much as possible. And so we tried to move it as far south on the property as possible. And then we tried to turn it to try to open up the view as much as possible. And I'm telling you what we felt at the time and what we still feel now is that we did as much as we could for all those purposes, and still meet what we need for operations of the terminal itself. In fact, we gave up, we thought, a lot of things that we needed operationally in consideration for that. And because the only one of all the concepts that we looked at, that, when we started the process in 2013, we developed our program needs. All of them, we have the whole do list. People have asked whether we have program needs, and we had one. And the only one that met all the program needs was the infamous Concept C, which was the deck over the area with the staging below, the terminal building above. It gave us everything we wanted. It was the Steamship Authority's dream and the community's nightmare. And that's what, we are doing that, clearly. Everything we gave since then, we would have meetings and we would ask, okay, something has to give, what's going to give? And if Kevin Smith, the retired terminal manager, we would say, well, I know, Kevin, you asked for so many cars of staging, you asked for that, can you live with blank? Time and again. And Kevin's response, for better or worse for us, was, yeah, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. And that's where we ended up with what we have. And it got to the point where every time we needed something for something else, we'd have to take away something. It was a zero-sum game, and no one felt they could go any further.
The biggest thing driving where the building is the circulation of the traffic. People come in on Codry Road, and they go out either on Codry Road or Railroad Avenue. You have to, because of the geometry of the property, you have to facilitate that. And so the last thing that happens is, where do we put the building? So that we can have that kind of circulation. Otherwise, you can't. That doesn't work. So you have a north-south building so that traffic can go on either side. I mean, and we all had our preferences. My preference was to have the staging in front of the building, and so that people could see, the dock workers could see the vehicles. We could keep passengers pretty more separated from the staging in the vehicles. There's a whole thing about safety that goes on there that we're concerned about. And it got nixed because it was too far for people to walk, having the building further back.
That was next to the last one.
And so,
we had brought to the board in May,
here we are. It's like making sausage.
And both Mark Hanover and Kathy Norton at the time, and said, no, I could never walk that from where the building was proposed to be located to the ferry steps. And she said, there are a lot of people like you who wouldn't be able to walk that. And so they asked that we look at it, and that's when we flipped the vehicle staging, and everyone seemed, it also, we think, had a far better effect on the view. Because the farther you put the building out towards the water, the less of the horizon it takes up.
No, the more you go into the bridge, the less of the horizon.
No,
Yeah,
because
take up.
the building looks larger. That's what we'll go over that too.
Interesting. How are people managing that with their walking? They've been through a busy season and people have talked on and off the boats.
We're getting by. As Kevin Smith, we're getting by. But it's certainly, and that's where another issue is. We, I think, strongly disagree that the current situation is adequate. And we wanted to make certain, that we here at this level are telling you something that if we went down to the terminal, the employees, we've talked to the terminal manager. He finds the current, the amount of the temporary terminal building to be inadequate. And we have that information which we'd like to go over. But, and the building is too far. It is too far from the water.
And what, a comparison today to what we're gonna have in the future isn't realistic, because you have to realize the slips are all moving 70 feet further out on land, okay? So you got another 70 feet, and from there you'll have a 200-foot passenger pier to get onto the boat. So you're gonna be out over the water a lot more than where we are today.
Well, I might add, two individuals weighed in on that. My counter evidence would be, what about what takes place at every airport in the country where distances are much larger than 70 feet plus what you go now? There are carts, I don't know what percentage of passengers who need carts is, but it might be very high. For that to be an overwhelming factor to me.
It was an important factor, and led, it was an important factor, and led to the creation of the current site plan with the building and its footprint, which also works well operationally for a lot of the other reasons for the traffic flow. And in some ways, we thought, and we can go through, also improved the view. So we thought there was moving the building from back to where it had been proposed, one that Bill would have preferred maybe, still had a lot of benefits, we thought, for everybody. And everyone seemed to think so at the time. I mean, I gave you the newspaper articles from the time, and I'm just saying, we thought we had
Talk about that separately. To me, to say that that is everyone would be a gross misrepresentation.
well, we thought, pardon?
I said everybody who was present.
Yeah, everyone, a lot of people were present. I mean, we thought we had done pretty well. So,
Well, even when Catherine Bumpus said it was the least bad
Right,
proposal,
yes,
that's fair ways from saying that's a good proposal.
I agree with that.
I have one more on environmental stewardship, not directly related to the building, but related to transportation from the remote lots and environmental stewardship. What's your thinking on that?
Okay, I'm going to defer to Mark because he has been the biggest advocate of liquefied natural gas buses. CNG. He has tried to put in electric buses, so he's done a number of stuff there.
I believe January 24th, we're going to be borrowing a bus from the VTA, one of the BYD electric buses. Our plan is when the Volkswagen settlement grants are announced is to apply for electric buses. The delta on an electric bus compared to a fossil fuel bus is probably about $300,000 roughly right now.
Per vehicle.
Per vehicle. And most of the people who are purchasing these electric buses are using it through federal funds or grant money, not through their own checkbook. We've applied for grants in the past for converting some of our buses to electric and inductive. And one of the issues was that who would hold liability, because it was basically an angel finance type company. And if the company wasn't able to sustain their end of the technology, who would be on the hook for the $2.3 million for 3 buses? Converting, $150,000 bus for that much money, so we looked at that. We were one of the only ones on the Cape to use CNG probably about 15 years ago. And since then, no one in the Falmouth area that I'm aware of is using it. There's only one CNG station on the Cape, and that's in Yarmouth Road. And it's really us, Mass Highway, and maybe a couple gas, N-Star and a trash company. That's it. No one else on the Cape is using CNG.
So when we send our buses for Hyannis, have to be fueled, they're out of service for an hour.
Yeah.
Every time we go out.
And we've had problems with that station. It's a legacy station because how frequently it's being used. It has one compressor, so that compressor goes, there's no other fuel. The next closest station might be Wareham. So by the time you go up and come back, you're out of fuel. So it doesn't make any sense. So we are looking down those avenues. One thing would be great on the electric buses would be a cradle to grave concept, that if you can generate the electricity yourself through a solar panel, put it to the bus, you have a zero footprint. That's pretty slick, if you do that. I
Yeah.
believe that's what Angie from the BTA on the Vineyard's trying to do.
Glad you're thinking about it, thank
So,
you.
very actively
Doing a
looking
lot
to
of
see how we can do
research,
it.
and we've been waiting patiently for Volkswagen settlement to open up for applications on that, but
We've actually looked at putting in a full-blown CNG fueling station, which is, I think, $1.3 million. But there's no other partners around who use CNG, and we don't generate enough, we don't use enough fuel to ever come close to paying for it.
so that was a question that we had with the town and with, you know, the oceanographic, and whether there'd be an opportunity for some synergy there to get that, but, you know, then you're talking about, you know, not only our fleet being converted to CNG, but the town and, you know, the oceanographic and the like, so it's a long process.
And additionally, we do have charging stations here, and we do not charge our customers to use electricity, both here at Palmer Avenue.
That's common, that's
But
usual
meaning,
practice.
we put it in our own dime, not with grants, we put it in, and we don't charge for that, we encourage it, so.
Great.
Being proactive in that arena.
Good, thank you.
You know. So we'll put a press release out on social media once we get, that date's tentative, pending on when they can give up the buses, so we'll let people know. We're gonna reach out with the Cape Cod RTA, I know they're interested in looking at them, and also with the town of Falmouth. Betsy and I have been talking about that a lot, let you guys know if you wanna kick the tires and go for a ride and see how they like it.
It would be super slick to have a zero footprint, self-charging bus and solar panel type operation.
Do you have any idea how many of the BTA buses are currently electric?
I believe it's either 5 or 7 right now, and they were all funded by grants. It was a no-low grant that a lot of it was funded, and you have to be a Fed funds recipient to even apply for that grant, which we are not.
You're not.
The Cape Cod RTA would be, and the BTA would be, but we're not, so we can't even
Yeah.
qualify, so we looked at that.
Okay, are we
Okay.
set on question 10? We exhausted that? All right, let's move on to 11. And I would like to just add one more comment to 11, which reads, what assurance do residents of the Vineyard and the Cape have that the fully functional third slip will not lead to more boat trips? I went back and looked at the trip schedule from 2016 to 2019, which is on the website, and those numbers increased every year pretty much without an additional third slip. I think in 2016, there were 28 boats Monday through Friday in the summer months, in the busy months, leaving from Woods Hole to Vineyard Haven, Danville Bluffs. In 2017, there were 29. Last year, there were 33, and this year, 33. So that's quite a big jump. And that's without a fully functional third slip.
Correct.
No, it never went to 29, it was 28. You have 4 boats doing 7 round trips a day. So it was
Okay,
28.
Maybe I misread it.
We had, one starts at a port and comes back, and then I think you're looking at one day a week, Monday through Thursday it goes to Vineyard Haven, Friday, Saturday, Sunday it goes to the
Okay,
Bluffs.
but would you agree it did leap from 28 to 33?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that was.
And then that includes
And the-
33 coming back to
And the
Woods Hole, so
30,
that's a lot
the
of
33
boats.
are Monday through Friday.
Right, that's what I said, Monday through Friday. in the summer
31.
months. Yeah.
Saturday,
31,
the
yeah,
3 trips and an optional 4.
So that's a worry for everybody, that's a worry for Woods Hole, Falmouth, the Vineyard, that it's going to increase capacity. And I know you're saying that it won't, but,
No,
I mean, increase the schedule, increase the number of boats.
well, but those with, as you said, those were 2 operating steps that we've been doing that. And in the ENF that we do have online, I think we went into a long discussion about this because that was an issue then. There are other constraints with both the terminal site and our operations that are the more effective constraints on our service levels than the addition of a third operating step. We went through there to show, with the current schedules as they were then, how we have so many spaces available with those 2 operating steps that we can add a significant amount of additional service without the need for a third operating step. And I think we said at the time, but I haven't looked at it for many years now, so it's my memory that's faulty, especially as I get older, that one of the most significant constraints is the size of the site itself, how many cars we can stage there, how many people we can stage, and that site is not getting any larger. And the other constraint is if you have so many trips going to and from Woods Hole, you have to have at least the same number of trips going to and from Martha's Vineyard. And while we have both Oak Bluffs and Vineyard Haven, Oak Bluffs is closed a number of times, even during the height of the summer schedule, because of the weather and sea conditions. And so when we develop our operating schedules, we have to develop them, and Mark and Bob have been doing this for years, so that in the event that the Oak Bluffs terminal is closed down for any reason, that all of our trips can operate in and out of Vineyard Haven. And Vineyard Haven only has 2 slips. So there are a number of other constraints. And we need, we also think that having that 3rd slip there is important for actually making certain traffic flows better. As Bill said, not moving a boat early in the morning, late at night, that helps the situation for traffic. Obviously, during the construction of the other 2 slips, we're going to need that 3rd operating slip. And the other thing is that sometimes, given certain wind conditions or sea conditions, our captains may want to dock in that 3rd slip. But the terminal was being designed, as I think everyone knows, so that the slip number 1, one of the biggest challenges, floodplain is a challenge for this terminal, and the other challenge is accessibility, because this new terminal, the old terminal was not accessible. It didn't have to be accessible at the time it was built, and this new terminal has to be accessible for every route that goes onto the boat. And so slip 1, which is the southernmost slip, that transfer bridge is set at a certain height to accommodate the island home, particularly of the large boats and some of the freight boats, particularly the Governor, so that is a fully accessible slip at all times, except for the most remote times for highs and low tides. And so that is ideally where the island home is going to be operating on. It can operate out of the other slips, but not at extreme time conditions. So from an operational perspective, it's better to operate it from there as a routine matter. Slip 2, which is the middle slip, has a much higher transfer bridge because the freeboard of Martha's Vineyard and the motor vessel Woods Hole has a higher freeboard. So you have the accessibility needs met with that height of the transfer bridge. And slip 3 is designed to be an average of those 2. You can correct me. So we can use slip 3, but we'd rather be using the other slips, and also the captains, as a rule, tend to like slips that are farther away from the village, just to prevent, to minimize the occurrence of any interference with any of the boats. So that's the reason we're doing all of this. Our purpose in building the 3rd slip was not to increase the level of service. Our purpose of the 3rd slip was to make a better functioning ferry terminal.
So if we were to project out 2022, 2026, is it still 33 trips a day, Monday to Friday?
Well, first off, it's 31, it's not 33.
Okay, 31, okay.
Okay.
So it's 31.
And part of this was also, we ended up adding those additional trips because we had the issue with the early morning trip in the larger trucks.
Which you kept, I would know.
And so we tried to, smaller trucks, put them on that early trip, and then to accommodate the larger trucks, we ended up adding that additional freight boat.
So again, looking
That
ahead,
was the added,
understanding, right now, short term, but there will be 3 slips. So as you go out 3 years, 6 years, 10 years, seeing the growth that has occurred, is it flat? Is it 5% increase? 10%? I mean, it's part of the projection, I think.
And that is what I will, since I'm the retired person here,
Right.
semi-retired, partially retired, if people have read the HMS consulting report, that's where we need some assistance.